Welcome to the Geniuses of Copywriting podcast, a peek into the minds and strategies of the world's greatest copywriters, marketers, and persuasion experts. And now, here's your host, Brian Casangina.
Hey guys, welcome to the Geniuses of Copywriting podcast. It's my absolute privilege and honor to introduce one of the living legends of copywriting. Sorry if that makes you sound old, Alan, because I don't mean to say that at all. Because you're not. I don't know if I can agree with you on that. But you're one of the original copywriters that I grew up studying back 10, 15 years ago. So please introduce yourself. Welcome to the call. It's a pleasure to have you on. And I'd like to talk about some of the cool stuff that you're doing now. So,
Sure.
So what we were just talking about off camera, if we can jump right into that, is I saw that you posted a picture on Facebook about some direct mail that you were doing. And that really fascinated me because everybody's so enamored online with using the internet for everything, and which is fair enough because it's got such a low cost and a high penetration, that sort of thing. But direct mail is really interesting. It's really something that I'd like to test in my own business at some point. So can you tell us more about the project that you're doing? And I assume that this is not like a new thing that you're doing, that you've done direct mail before.
Yeah, I mean, probably in my working life, I've probably mailed over 1 million pieces of direct mail very easily, really.
That's a lot.
So, yeah, it says a lot, yeah. And the reason I always go back to, what is, Brian, when things are a little bit uncertain and human habits are being changed through different mediums, direct mail always worked. It just always worked. So if you look at, I'll give you a little bit of a background. If you look at the history of direct mail, it's huge.
Yeah. And
if you look at the history of email, it's relatively small. I mean, I started emailing probably around 1997. And maybe the year before that, I don't remember, to be honest. But the problem we had then, of course, is nobody had an email. So, people used to say, no, I'm not getting an email because I don't think it's going to take off.
Yeah.
So I grew up in my business life doing direct mail offline marketing because we didn't have the web. So when I opened my first business in 85, that was done with flyers. In 89, when I had a brick and mortar shop, the prime marketing tool was direct mail. And I used to mail around 1,000 letters every Tuesday morning without fail.
Yeah.
It was just almost like a religious habit that was done. The problem, of course, in those days is we didn't have, we couldn't sit at home and print really good mailers. You just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't buy printer. We didn't have computers. So you had to go to if you wanted to print, a letter, if I wanted to print that, I would have to take it to the printer, and 3 weeks later, never before, he would bring it back. So it was so painful, really. It was just so painful. Now, as the years have gone on, I've always gone in and out of direct mail. I've done tons of direct mail for clients. I've done probably, I don't know the number really, Brian, but I would say at least 1 dozen over £1 million turnover direct mail is easily. Yeah. I know I did one that was 7.5 million. I did one that was 2.2 million. I did one that was 1.5 million. And this was for real world. This was for accountants. This was for selling cars. This was for a cosmetic business. This was real world business. So direct mail for me it's a core part of my business for lots and lots of reasons. Now, it's interesting you say, because everybody says, because of the low cost of email. Well, for me, the price of email is extremely high cost because the open rate is now so low and the response rate is so low. You could we can do 100 pieces of direct mail, which is sometimes what we do to our niche list here. 100 pieces of direct mail, and get a 10% conversion. Now, 10% conversion for us is 10 times, because we sell a big manual, it's 10 times £250. So we can get a £2,500 return for a 100 direct mailer. That 100 direct mailer costs us roughly £100, and we've got the cost of the manual and posting, which is £30.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer. It's a complete and utter no-brainer. But most people do direct mail very badly, very, very badly. Now, the reason I'll tell you that is this. First of all, most copywriters, I would say 99%, do what I call formulaic copywriting. Now, formula-based copywriting, I mean, don't get me wrong, Brian, I still read this stuff. You know, this is on my desk. Yeah. I mean, I paid $300 for this, God knows how many years ago. You know, I still have all this stuff lying here when I'm doing a direct mail campaign. And I still, you know, I've got such a huge pile here, I can't enjoy it all. There's so much stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I still do all this reference stuff when I'm doing my own work for swipes and everything else. I've been doing this for 30 years, a long time really. But the problem with most copywriters is they create formulaic copywriting. Now, for example, online, we have a couple of really prominent, brilliant copywriters. Gary Halbert, deceased, brilliant copywriter. John Carlton, brilliant copywriter. And there's others as well, of course, but the problem is we have today is most copywriters try and write like those copywriters rather than having a conversation with the marketplace. And it's a distance that is so huge, it's impossible to connect both sides. Yeah. You cannot create a formula for every audience. It's not possible. So you can only do a successful direct mail, because this is where we're going back to. Successful direct mail you can only do that if the conversation is in harmony with what's going on in the target's head. And that doesn't include formula. Now, of course, you still can have formula in as much as it's good to have a headline. Yeah. You know, it's good to have a call to action. Yeah. I mean, I do lots of copy where I don't have bullet points. For me, bullet points, you know, it's not a deal maker. For me, like having subs and pre-heads is not a deal maker. What the deal maker for me is are we talking to the audience in a conversation that is already in their heads? Because if we're not, the direct mail won't work.
Nothing will work if that's not there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, and of course, there's the other stuff as well. You know, what's the strategy and the tactic of the direct mail? So, I know you're asking me about this particular one. So basically, we have another business called salonpunk.com. Yeah. I've been doing this since 1999, so a long time. And we have a big database of hair salon owners. And I used to be a hairdresser for 20 years. I used to be a salon owner for 17 years. So it's something I know inside out. Within Salon Punk, we have lots of things. I'll grab a book. I'm coming back.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we have all the usual stuff, you know, the lead generation, blah, 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 we have in business. So we have a paperback book called The Salon Punk, How to Make Your Salon a Raging Success, which is not a how-to book. It's a story. So it's almost like if I can do it, anyone can. Yeah. That's it. So it's a story of how I learned business, how I learned marketing, how I fell into hairdressing, how I opened salons, and then a little bit at the end. So it's tuned to the marketplace. So with this salon list that we have, salon owners generally are usually brilliant at what they do, but they have no idea how to run a business. Yeah. And that's why so many salon owners either stay in the lower percent, or they struggle, or the salon closes. So this direct mail, what we found the past 2 years is our email interactivity is declined dramatically. Yeah. I mean, dramatically. We have a good list, good active list. But if, for instance, we sent out a slightly different formula email the day before yesterday, and it was the worst click-through I've ever seen. And I thought I was trying something really cool, and it just failed. So the open rate was good. The click-through, I'm almost embarrassed to tell you this on camera. We had two people click through on this emailer. Yeah. 2 people.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So that was out of 5,000. So the open rate was high. The click-through rate was slow. So we've been thinking about this for a long, long time, really, because every now and again we do direct mail, and we have around a 10% conversion rate on direct mail. So this was sorry, I've ripped off the bottom because I had to write a note for some light bulbs this morning.
That makes sense.
So this was the last direct mail that we did. It converted at 10%. You know, I don't know where let me just see where it is. My wife might have picked up, actually. Baby, do you have the new direct mail that I'm using for these salons? Oh, it's here. Sorry, it's here. It's under this book. So, we can't do a screen share on this, can we?
I can give it a go.
No, I'll tell you, we'll just do this. I'll talk through it. Yeah. So, what I decided to do was, this original one, although it's 10%, I never liked the mailer. I just didn't like it, really. The offer wasn't irresistible. The offer didn't go to the edge. It wasn't like a pure acquisition cost. You know, there was so many things missing. And we got 10%. I thought, okay, I'm going to change it completely. So I decided to go back further to the way I used to write direct mail. Now, direct mail, of course, originally is, you know, my original direct mail. I mean, this is more what I would call factual direct mail. This is more the new one we haven't tested yet. We're going to test it at the 100. This is more story-based. So at the top of it there, I don't know if anyone can see that.
Yeah, we can see that, yeah.
There's a guy who looks like he's dead. So this was a salon owner I worked with called Rich this year. His wife sent me that picture. She said, oh my God, Alan, look what you're doing to my husband. It's only 6:30, he's just walked in. Now this guy's salon was about to close.
Yeah.
Now, in 23 days, I increased his business by 223.7%. And eventually took it from £1,700 a week to nearly £7,500 a week in 12 weeks.
Wow.
So it was a dramatic turnaround. Yeah. By the way, I did direct mail for these guys as well. So the whole story is the headline is a very simple headline that I might change. Mm-hmm. So the headline says, don't worry, this salon owner isn't dead. He's simply exhausted after doing exactly as I told him to do in his salon. Because obviously, this is a promotional piece for this manual.
Yeah.
So really, the direct mailer for this particular one, and by the way, we've had over 30% conversion on our direct mails to the salon list. So this one is the story of the salon owner. And then it talks about, it has their testimonial story at the end. And then it goes more into why. The second piece, or the second sheet, is more about what I call a factual piece. And the third piece is, which I haven't done, I've got it on my desk here. The third piece is a mind-blowing offer. It's completely irresistible. So everything is thrown into this offer because I want it to be a big-time hit as mailer. So everything we can give away is in this offer. There's some dedicated pieces that will only ever go through with this offer. There's some stuff there's about 3 items you cannot buy from us, but we have. One of them's our salon blueprint. You can't buy the blueprint, but it's going to be within this offer, and loads of other stuff. Plus, a 30-minute initial consultation and business planning with me, which is worth £250. And really, Brian, that is the direct mailer that we're doing now. So we're going to test it to 100, see what happens. It's a good time for us to mail now because people they're a little bit quiet in the salons and they're freaking out over they only get busy in the third week of December. It goes crazy. So they'll be panicking right now. So it's a good time so lots of things. 1, is it tuned into the audience? 2, do you have something that's completely compelling and irresistible? 3, do you have an offer that they just cannot say no? They'd be nuts to say no to. And that's the bottom line. But the fourth element, of course, is will they open the envelope? Yeah. So I've got to just finalize the envelope, get some print or something on the envelope so they will open it. And that'll be the fourth part of this. And then we'll send it to 100 and test it. If it's a successful test, we'll send it to 1,000, and then we'll probably send it to 2,000, 3,000, so on and so on. and we'll just multiply it up. Now, let's go back to the original question about direct mail. Everybody should be doing direct mail if they have a business.
Yeah.
Only if you know what you're doing. You should be doing direct mail. One, it's far more cost effective. Two, it's far more direct. 3, it's a better way of having that conversation. And 4, it's a no-brainer. Because if we sell one of these from 100, it's going to cost us £100 to send. One of them brings in a return of £245. It's just a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, the other side of things you've got to think about is your time or pounds per hour or dollars per hour. But for us, it's still worth doing because we expect to sell more than one.
Yeah, definitely more than one. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the direct mailer I am working on a couple actually, but that's one of them.
So it's really interesting that this test you're going to run. So is this something that you're sending this to your existing salon list, like you mentioned? Would this be something suitable to also get new clients as well later on? Because these are existing clients or prospects that you're sending it to. Is it good for cold mailings as well, or is it more suited to
I mean, obviously for cold mailing, when you do, the first question is, who's this going to? That's what you're asking, really.
Yeah.
This one's going to existing clients.
Yeah.
So people who buy this will be mailed to them initially.
Other products, yeah.
So this is a follow-up letter. For lead generation, you've got to remember for lead generation, the biggest mistake most businesses make is they send one direct mailer and they think it either works or it doesn't.
Yeah.
No, you have to send. I spent 17 years sending 1,000 pieces of direct mail every Tuesday. Every Tuesday without fail. That is the only way to make direct mail work. If you're doing it as a one-off hit, I mean, you can in some things. For instance, if we decided to sell Christmas tree lights, well, we're not going to send out direct mailer all the way through.
Year.
So it does depend, it does depend. But for me, direct mail has to be a sustained campaign. I mean, this thing here, this will have a follow-up that goes with it. The follow-up will be a lift letter with exactly the same thing underneath, maybe with an increased offer, that's all. But it'll be the same mailing piece.
Interesting.
Direct mail. So, for instance, if a client comes to me, as you know, I work with lots of consultants and copywriters. So the biggest problem copywriters have now is not getting clients, because you can get a cheap client anywhere.
Yeah.
You see them in the forums. I'll do it for $200. I'll do it for $400.
Yeah.
But the question is, how would you get a client for £84,000, which is the kind of clients I have?
Yeah, that is a question that I'm wondering about.
There's only one way to do it, and that's to, it's a little bit like when a lion chases a zebra, it will spend time studying the zebra. It will watch how the zebras are interacting. It'll look for the weakest and the slowest one, and it could watch those zebras all day long. And only when it knows for sure what it's going to take to catch that zebra will it go. Direct mail is exactly the same. Here's what I do, Brian. I find somebody I want to work with, and I find out as much information as I can about them online, and then I hunt them down until they say yes.
So that's your hit list that you have.
My hit list, yeah. I don't have a hit list at the moment because I'm so busy with my other stuff, but that's how I usually do it, yeah. So if I want a client I want to work with, I do everything until he says get lost. Yeah, I will pursue him to the death until he says yes. And
you send out those direct mail letters until they say lost. Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
So it's that the follow up is really the key with all of that. It's so easy for us to actually put together a small campaign and do it one time and can come to the conclusion that it doesn't work because it doesn't meet any of it doesn't make like the millions of dollars that the gurus promised that all these campaigns would. Whereas when you get the type of consistent action that you've taken over the last 17 years, that's how you actually get some traction in this area.
I think for me, Brian, it's not 17 years, it's 33 years I've been in business.
Yeah.
So I am completely unemployable, which I'm happy about.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, for me, business either works or it doesn't.
Mm.
I don't want to fart around for $100. I just refuse to do it.
Yeah.
I would rather work for nothing for 3 months than get paid $100. I'd be insulted to work for $100.
Yeah,
I just wouldn't do it.
Good point. Yeah.
So you have to set your own standard. You have to set your own shop. You have to put your own position into place and say, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm all about. And nothing is going to change it. So you have to have a fixed mind on, everything in life's a destination. So the question is, how do I get there? You don't just go outside, jump in a car and start driving. You have to look at the map and find out how to get there.
Mm.
Copywriting is the same. It's a destination. Marketing's the same. It's a destination. The first question I ask my clients when we work together is, what would be the perfect outcome for you 12 months from now?
Yeah.
And they say, well, if we can hit 500 grand, that would be great. So I always say, if you hit 500 grand, what will you give me?
Yeah.
And for me, that's the deal. That's the whole deal almost done then.
Yeah.
So, you have to give it some. A lot of new copywriters, they jump in and they go, okay, yeah, I'm going to, yeah.
Yeah.
It takes more brain. I mean, copywriters will say to me, I have 10,000 books, I mean, I built my copywriting business on one book. Mm-hmm. David Ogilvy's book on advertising.
Yeah.
I built my whole copywriting business on that book. And you know why I did that? Because I don't read books.
Mm.
I'm not a reader. So a book is no good to me. I mean, I read now, I read today. But in those days, I just didn't read books. For me, you have to do it. You have to be able to walk the talk or get a job doing something else. Go back to hairdressing.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah. Different people taking different information different ways, but in the end, like you say, you have to walk the talk and you have to do the stuff, and that's the ultimate way of actually getting results, is to actually take action and follow through. And that's obviously that's what we've done.
You do. It's a little bit like you see a lot of web pages these days. I mean, I've tested everything on web pages.
Yeah.
In fact, I've tested everything from single pages to single images to one button on a web page to a full sales page. I've tested everything. And I always do a full circle. Without fail, I go back to, if you go to Orange Beetle now, it's a full sales page again.
Yeah.
Now, why do I do that? Do I personally like full sales pages? The answer is no, because I won't read them.
Yeah.
But here's what I know. If I want a client, I have to have a sales page. It's really that simple.
Mm.
But there's two ways of doing a sales page. One, you either become a formulaic robot and do it the way everyone else does it, or you tune in to that individual that you want, those targets that you want. For example, Brian, a corporate client or a high-end client has a different brain to a single entrepreneur who's doing, 20 grand a year.
Yeah.
You have a completely different brain. So that sales pitch has to be, if you want a bigger client, it has to be tuned into that big client rather than tuned into that. For somebody who's doing 20 grand a year, everything's a risk. For somebody who's doing 5 million a year, they want to take the risk because they've already taken the risk.
Yeah.
So they think at a different level. So how do we pitch our camp? How do we get this thing going? Because that's who we are as experts, copywriters, marketers, blah, 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 blah. That's who we are. So we have to ask ourselves certain questions within this process. I know I'm waffling on.
No, that's fine. It's all great information. It's extremely valuable to me. What I'm wondering now is, let's say I'm a new copywriter who has not been around for a long time, and I'm starting to realize I'm stuck in the robotic formula stage, and I know that I need to level up my game to become a world-class copywriter? How can I start to do that sort of thing?
I think if you could hear conversations I've had over the years, I'm just going to repeat something here.
Yeah.
So I'm just repeating something I know. And the biggest mistake copywriters make is they listen to everyone. So they get a million emails, subscriptions, they buy every book, they go to every webinar, they go to every conference, they listen to everyone. And the problem is it becomes overkill, it becomes mass confusion, it becomes disengaging. So you can't level up at that level. You cannot level up at that level. I forgot what you said. You live in Thailand.
Yeah.
What you have to do is you have to go to a beach somewhere where no one else is. You have to go to a jungle somewhere where no one else is. Don't have an iPhone. Don't have an iPad. Don't have a book. Re-engage your brain into high-value process. What's a high-value process? We keep fit. Is it fitness? What's a high-value process? Is it nutrition? Is it just rebalancing your senses? For instance, Brian, I'm absolutely terrible with my iPhone. I'm like this all the time, It's totally moronic. Now, the problem is when you get to the end of the day, your eyesight, you're like, oh my God, I can't see anything. So sometimes it's good to just go into nature and refocus. For example, when we were in Tbilisi in Georgia, where we have a house, we go to another place called Imereti, which is an area, like a county, like a shire. And we went over to Imereti, where we have another house in the mountains. And we don't have any web connection or telephone, so it's cool. So this particular day in Imereti, I decided to, when we got there, we got out of the car, and Tamuna and her mother did their thing. And I went into the house and got an axe.
Yeah.
And I got the axe and I chopped down a small forest. So this forest was a big area. I did it all manually. And the trees were only as wide as an arm.
Yeah.
It wasn't big trees or anything. Yeah. So, half a dozen chops and the tree fell over. So I spent the whole day chopping down a forest, having a fire. And then something happened in the evening, which I'd forgotten about. I could see every star in the sky. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. So my human senses became re-engaged at a level I'd kind of forgotten a little bit. Because where I live here in England, in Cheshire, we're completely saturated with artificial light. So you don't see the stars anymore.
Yeah.
Where in Imereti and Bori, where we have a place, there isn't any light because there's no electric half the time. So you have to see, all you can see is blackness and beyond the blackness. So my advice to any copywriter is disengage yourself for a while, unsubscribe from many, many copywriters, and re-engage your mind at a different level. Because to become another level copywriter takes a different level of thinking. And the only way you can be another level of copywriter is to stop thinking like a copywriter. That's the only way it can be done.
Yeah.
It's the only way it can be done. If we think like a copywriter, for instance, you've probably noticed I never call myself a copywriter.
Yeah.
When I used to do a lot of speaking, I used to always say, one of the world's best copywriters or the UK's #1 copywriter. Yeah. I used to hate it because I never said that. I'm just a guy that gets other people business.
Yeah.
That's it. And the only way I can do that is, what is their customer thinking and how do I relate to that in a conversation that goes on paper? That's it. So we have to step back from the formula and ask questions. Here's the thing, Brian. The formula may be working for the audience, and if it does, why change it? So if it works, there's nothing needs fixing. If it's no longer working, it's a little bit like, my nephew, Eves, he catches fish that I couldn't even pick up. I mean, these things are monsters. Yeah. So this lake that he goes fishing on, he has to try every kind of bait he can try. Now, originally, he used to catch, because this lake is where they live, so he used to catch little perch or roach that big all the time. And suddenly when he said, Uncle Alan, watch this, he's sending me pictures on Instagram. Oh my God, look at this, a 27-pound leather carp, a 32-pound mirror carp. He's only a little guy, he's 14, yeah. He's holding these fish like that. But the thing is, he had to ask himself a question: how do I catch the bigger fish?
Yeah.
That's a question he had to ask. How do I catch the bigger fish? There's a question a copywriter has to ask. If he's only getting the small fish doing what he's already doing, and he's not getting anything from the bigger fish, he has to change the bait. And that will take a little bit of thinking first. That's how you do it. Yeah,
the results that you get are dependent on the quality of the question that you ask.
That's right, yeah. It's true, yeah. And you know what? I mean, I came from a hairdressing background, and I knew nothing about copywriting, but in 1990, my very first introduction into kind of business was I bought a book by Tom Peters called In Search of Wow. I'd never read a book before, and I couldn't read it. It was a bit too complicated for me, really.
Yeah.
And I bought another book called How to Win Customers and Keep Them for Life by Michael LaBeouf. And that was a game changer a little bit for me. It taught me how to interact with a customer, but I still didn't know what to do. And then I found another book, this was in 1991, called by Jay Abraham, which was, I forgot what it's called now, Getting Everything You Can From Everything You've Got. An amazing book. And then I got another book by a guy called J. Conrad Levinson. This was in 1990. And we became good friends in the end. And his book, of course, Guerrilla Marketing, that book completely transformed my business acumen, how I thought and felt about being in business rather than being a hairdresser.
Yeah.
So, and of course, over the years, I've paid for advice over the years. I once paid $5,000 for 30 minutes advice because I knew this money would transform the way I was doing a certain aspect of my business, and it did. But here's a funny thing, Brian. I learned what I needed to know in a minute. So it cost me $5,000.
Yeah.
But that $5,000 wasn't a cost, because that probably made me hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Yeah, if not more, yeah.
So, you have to ask the question. When I had my very first hairdressing salon, it was 250 square foot. To move to my bigger salon, which was 2,000 square foot, I had to ask the question, how do I do that? How do I make that transition safely? So, as a copywriter, to level up, we have to ask a question, do I need to get advice? If I've been doing this for 10 years and I'm still not leveling up, do I need to get advice from somewhere? Or am I happy to stay the same as I've always been? That's up to the copywriter, of course. I mean, I know copywriters from when I started copywriting who are still doing like pieces of copy for $3,000, which is fine. I wouldn't do it. I mean, if I'm not getting $25,000 for a piece of copy, I just won't do it.
Yeah.
That's English pounds.
Yeah.
So we set our own stall every time. I mean, here's an interesting question I've been asking myself while we're in Georgia. Why do I always ask for $25,000 minimum for my copy? Why am I not asking $50,000?
Yeah. That's a good question.
And you'll get other copies. Yeah, it's a good question, right? Because you'll get other copywriters will say $3,000. So if they're always asking $3,000, why are they not asking $6,000?
Yeah.
So my advice to a copywriter is take what you have right now and double it and see what happens. That's what I would do.
Yeah, that's something that I've struggled with over the years. I've been slow to ask myself that same question, and I've been stuck on these lower fees for a number of years. So I'm still working on getting past that now. So it's very important for copywriters to do that sort of stuff.
It is, and the other thing worth thinking about as well, Brian, is what we have to remember is, I mean, I've seen the copyright marketplace change dramatically. So clients now know more than they have ever known. When I started copywriting, clients knew zero. They just didn't know. The only thing they knew about copywriting was what they learnt in English grammar at school.
Yeah.
That was it. Now, you can buy 1 million books online about how to do this. And what copywriters forget is your clients are also buying those books that we buy.
Yeah.
They know roughly how to do it now. They know. I mean, look what Facebook does now. Facebook's AI will write an ad for you.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is click, post it, and budget. That's what copywriters are up against, so you have to rethink your marketplace. Because this stuff here that we are writing, the clients already know how to do it. So I get clients coming to me with brilliant sales letters, and I mean, they come to me with sales letters, and you think, oh my God, how can I improve it?
Yeah.
And you know, the thing that they usually do is clients will usually present you a formulaic piece of copy rather than a conversationally tuned piece of copy. So that's where we have an advantage. But most copywriters don't have that advantage because they write formulaic and they don't think. They just do by formula.
Yeah, so let's find out how other copywriters can get that advantage, because as great as it's been talking to you, our time's almost up here, so I wanted to say a heartfelt thanks for what you shared on here. It's really golden information. So how can it has, and how can people find out about how they can level up their game with you? How can they find out more about you?
Well, there's a few ways, Brian. I mean, since 2004, I've been running a mentor program for copywriters. And I literally work with 3 copywriters a year. It's not mass production. It's not get 1 million copywriters on a call and show them a pre-recorded webinar. I work with my copywriters 24/7 until that period is over. So for 12 weeks, for instance, I'm working with a guy now in, not in Arizona, I forgot where he is, Virginia, Iowa. No, it's not Iowa. I forgot what it is now. He'll kill me if he watches this video. He'll kill me. But he can contact me. We do our communication through WhatsApp mostly. He can contact me any time of any day, any hour of any day of any week of any month through that 12-week period. And it is brilliant. It's the best period of training I've ever done. Because when we're talking about leveling up, I decided last year, what's the biggest problem with my copywriters mentor? The problem was they have to wait a week before we speak again. So I thought, okay, I'm going to open it 24 hours a day and see what happens. Yeah. It's been amazing. Because, for instance, this guy, he took $15,000 in 3 weeks. And this guy is a copywriting consultant who was charging, his first invoice he was sending out was for $1,995. And the amount of work he was doing was insane. I said, you're completely mad. This needs to be, so I showed them how to price it properly. The price came to something like $14,500. I said, this is how we'll construct because I do everything. I can help them to construct the brief. We construct the pricing. We construct the job. We construct it by the hour. We construct it by the detail. We do everything. And then I showed them how to make the offer completely irresistible. And that's what we did. And Chris sent out this offer. And we remember he wanted to do it for $1,995. Yeah. He charged $7,500 for the job he wanted to sell for $1,995. Yeah. And the client thought it was cheap. Right? Yeah, interesting, right? So he got 2 jobs in like that, $15,000 right away. So with my copywriters, there's a few things you can do. One, you can go to orangebeetle.com, find all of this stuff. One, Copywriters Mentor, which is 12 weeks, really intensive. It starts at £10,000. But some copywriters do hire me for a week. Certain consultants, they hire me for a month, or they hire me just for a 1-hour Skype call to do go through some details of their own briefs or emails or whatever. It's proper hardcore, but it's really powerful for the guys. For a 1-hour call, they pay about £500, and they get their money back tenfold easily. Yeah. So the big one is Copywriters Mentor. The second one, I have a course which is called Cash Convert and Get Paid, which is another level for copywriters who are stuck. that will give you all the stuff that I do myself, but of course it's a how-to.
Yeah.
So you just buy the course, you listen to the course, you get the PowerPoints, you get the audios, and you go through it. It's completely different level thinking. There's stuff in there, Brian, that, talk about pricing up. You do that in there for, I forgot how much it is now. I think it's $895. You do that in there, it is a completely different level thinking, completely. The third way, of course, is just, we talked about at the beginning, I have DVDs that, I did a course in 2005, it's a DVD course, which we've just put online. So I have 70 DVDs, they're all going online at the moment, so we've just done the first class. So this was called the Copywriters Masterclass, How to Write Yourself $1 Million.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant class because it shows you how to not just write like a copywriter, how to think at a different level as a copywriter. Now, I don't know how long this offer, we're actually not running this offer now, but it's on the website.
Yeah.
So we haven't promoted it yet, we're about to do it. You can actually access this full course, video course, wait for it, for £1.
Wow, that's cheap.
So if you go to, we're only doing this for a week or 2 weeks. So from the date that we launch it, it'll be there for 7 days. You'll see it be promoted online.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant course. It's a £5,000 course. There's 2 millionaires were made from that class. There was one guy did $90,000 in 12 weeks from that class. There was one guy, Kevin Lewis, who did £42,000 in 12 hours from that class. And he's on this. And plus, there's also 2 proteges of mine talking on this class as well. So it's quite cool. It's quite an eclectic class. But it's a slightly different approach to copywriting, which my approach is. Because it's ground, it's boots on the ground based. You can get that for £1 right now. Brian, you would find all this stuff at orangebeetle.com. If you want to know more about what I'm up to and what I'm doing, my main website is alanforrestsmith.com, which is where I do all my authoring, which I do a lot of blogging, which I do a lot of writing, which I do a lot of controversial stuff, and it links out to other places. That's the kind of the main place you'll find me.
Cool. Thanks for that. That's really awesome. I mean, that the sound of the Copywriters Masterclass course, absolute no-brainer. It's $895 or whatever you said the price was.
No, because it's £1 right now.
I was going to say for £1, it just takes away. There should be nobody that can't do that. So that's a really awesome offer, and we appreciate that. So I'm going to put these links on the site at geniusesofcopywriting.com. If you're listening on iTunes, go to that website. I'll put all the links there, and people can find out about you and these courses. And I highly recommend that they do, because you're one of the guys who I deeply respect in the world of copywriting. This is why I'm so excited to have you on the call. So thanks for coming along. I really appreciate you taking the time out to do this. Thanks very much for that, and we'll have to have you back on the show again sometime, because I've got
Brian. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I've got a lot more questions I want to ask you.
All right, Brian. Cheers. My pleasure.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you for listening to Geniuses of Copywriting with Brian Casangina. To get the full transcript and all the resources mentioned on today's show, go to www.geniusesofcopywriting.com now.